Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's a little bit risky right now to be trying to film this video because I'm trying to do it in just the time that Micaiah is napping, and who knows how long that's going to be, so let's just get right into it. So I told you guys in the first video back on my whole update video that I really wanted to make a video explaining my pregnancy and also my birth story, and so this video might be split into two different videos just depending on what happens with this nap situation. Thanks for being here and thanks for wanting to listen to this story. It's a pretty cool story with a lot of things that the Lord did, and he's always so faithful to do exceedingly and abundantly more than I have ever asked him to do. So buckle up for this one. I knew I wanted to have another baby after Azariah. Like, everything that I went through with him was incredibly hard but beautiful, but also really hard and traumatic. And you know, I feel like one of the biggest questions that anybody ever asked me, actually still now, even after I've had Micaiah, is like, how many kids do I want? Or am I scared to have more kids because of Azariah's journey? And I've always known the answer is yes. Like, I never have ever felt like I'm just supposed to have Azariah. I want Azariah to have siblings, and I love being a mother, and so if the Lord were to bless me with more children, I wanted that. And so I never questioned that, but there was a lot of, I guess, like, for lack of a better word, like baggage that and unhealed things that I was carrying from my pregnancy with Azariah that I didn't want to address because it's hard and overwhelming. And so the first thing that I started to do was I knew that I needed to go to therapy for everything that I had went through. And so I started seeing a therapist. I think Azariah was like just turned a year and a half maybe, and I started going to see her, and it was incredibly healing for me. The Lord, so we did EMDR, which I don't know like what that stands for, but she basically led me through this EMDR thing, and she said that she's never seen this happen before, but as I was doing this EMDR with her, the Lord very clearly was showing me visions of things, and one of those visions was, and this was like, I wasn't really ready to even contemplate having another baby yet. Azariah was only a year and a half old, and so I wasn't there mentally, and I just wasn't even thinking about that really at that time because it was so hard to think about, and I'll explain why in a second. But so in this vision, I was pregnant and I had this baby in my belly, and sitting right in front of me was Azariah, and right behind him was Jesus. And Azariah reached out and he touched my belly and he said, "Mommy, I love this baby." And then right after that, Jesus touched my belly and he said, "Lexi, I love this baby." And so I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I knew that that was significant for sure. And so I just kind of started asking the Lord, like, not really asking him, I kind of just started dumping all of this stuff on him that I was scared of or that I was feeling. And there was multiple different things, but one of them, which was kind of just a secret that I wanted to keep to myself because it was so painful to talk about to anybody else, it was a very real lie that I was believing, is that if I were to get pregnant again and something happened to this baby, I would never be able to forgive myself. I think like deep down in my pregnancy with Azariah, the enemy had rooted this lie, or I had started to believe even like a smidge of this lie that what had happened to Azariah was my body's fault. It was my fault. And I think like, I just want to say like that's a very real thing to feel after going through something like we went through, and it's a vulnerable thing to say, but it is something that I think anybody who experiences trauma, whether it's in something like what happened to us or just like any kind of traumatic experience, there's always the enemy wanting to come in and tell you that it's your fault. And so I had to give that to the Lord for sure. Actually, over and over and over again, I had to give that to him. One of the things that I had told Craig when we even like started thinking about trying to conceive was, I don't want to hold my breath until the 20-week ultrasound. And like, you couldn't blame me if that was the case, because of that, my first experience, right? So that was another thing that I had to bring to the Lord and say, Lord, like, I do not want to hold my breath for the first 20 weeks of my pregnancy, the first half of my pregnancy, thinking something could go wrong, or, you know, all the things that were going in my head. And so he definitely redeemed that lie and struck it down. And when I actually got pregnant, like, of course there was temptation to go back to that mindset for sure. There's actually like a couple really intense times when I was tempted with that thought and with believing that, but I never fully gave into that and let the enemy steal my joy. And so the other huge, almost kind of even bigger thing, because it lasted, it was like a longer lasting lie, which lasted my whole pregnancy even, was that I love Azariah so much that the thought of having another baby to love felt absolutely impossible to me. It felt like there was no way that I could love another baby as much as I loved Azariah. And I, again, believe these things like Azariah and I have such a unique bond because of what we went through when I was pregnant with him, that what if when I have another baby, like that changes that bond that him and I have? Or what if I don't bond with this next baby because we don't have this crazy intense story? And again, very real things to fear, or very real things to the enemy to try to like tempt you with believing. And so I struggled with that one for my whole pregnancy. And I can't even tell you how many friends that I have that have multiples who I brought that to and said, like, I need just like some wisdom on this, because of course I'm seeking the Lord in this, but like, what is your experience with this lie specifically? And everybody had something amazing to say. And I will say that I believed wholeheartedly everything that they said, but I did not experience the things that they were saying to me until I had Micaiah. So throughout my whole pregnancy, there was still this thing that I was struggling with and wrestling with. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I've actually talked to lots of people who have struggled with that. I just think it's something that it's like, it's unfathomable to think that you could love a human being as much as you love your husband, and then you have a baby and you're like, oh, of course. And then you get pregnant and you think, there's no way I could love another baby as much as I love my baby and my husband. And then you have that next baby and you're like, oh, of course. Like, it just builds. Your heart is made to multiply and is made to love that way, but it just feels so impossible because it's only by the Lord giving you that love and that multiplication of love that you can do that. So praise God. Thank you, Lord, for loving us so that we can love abundantly also. In that struggle, I was at my friend's house and she had, I think her baby was like 5-6 months maybe, and Azariah had never been around a baby before. So him being around a baby, I wasn't really sure how it was gonna go, but I wanted to go see this friend and hang out with her. So we went over to their house, and the way that Azariah loved this baby, I wept in her house, wept. And I explained to her the things that I was struggling with in relation to having another baby, and just feeling like I won't ever be able to be enough for both of them, or I won't ever have enough love for both of them, and all the common things that you struggle with. And I just sat and I watched Azariah love this baby, and I felt in my heart, like the Lord said, Azariah is made to be a sibling, and a sibling is going to be the greatest gift that you could give him. And so I said, okay, Lord, I'm gonna just let this sink in and pray about this some more, but I feel a peace starting to like develop in my heart about this. So when the time came, I don't even think Craig and I like actually were like, okay, let's just like start trying. I think it was just kind of, let's just see what happens type of thing, but also not, because the Lord told me that he was going to use my pregnancy with Azariah to heal my body. So if you don't already know, I spent 9 years with a chronic illness that was a bunch of different things, but it was debilitating for 9 years of my life. And having gotten pregnant with Azariah and going through that whole journey, I found out some stuff about my health that I would not have found out unless everything happened the way that it did. So I knew that the Lord was going to use that to heal me, and he did. He healed me of chronic illness through a progression of different things. But so because of that healing that the Lord did in my body through finding out all of this stuff with since my pregnancy with Azariah, I was so in tune with my body that I knew the exact day that I ovulated. I knew exactly how long my cycles were going to be. They were like clockwork. And sure enough, I found out at a week and a half pregnant, which is possible. Yes, I found out that I was pregnant. I just believed so much that the Lord had healed me in a way that I just knew it. And I knew in my body, the way that my body felt, I knew some of the signs that I was having already that I was pregnant. And so, yeah, that started this whole cool redemptive story of, the Lord started redeeming before I even got pregnant, right? He redeemed me in my healing in my body. He redeemed me in the way that I thought about having another baby. He redeemed me in getting pregnant right away, because with Azariah, I was told I would probably never have a baby. And then, you know what I mean? Just like all these different things that God is doing. There wasn't like really a crazy way that we told our family. My Azariah that day was at my parents', and I had just got back from there. And so we FaceTimed my parents really quick and told them and told Azariah over FaceTime. Not like, looking back, not the way that I wish we would have done it, but we were just so excited that we didn't want to wait. And then Craig's parents were at a restaurant with their friends, and we were already planning on going out for a date. So we just decided to show up there and surprise them and tell them at this restaurant that we were pregnant. And yeah, it was really sweet and really cool. So in the first several weeks of my pregnancy, I just was like pretty normal, typical pregnancy things. I just kind of started preparing myself mentally for the ways that the enemy was probably going to try to come against me, because, you know, no matter what, your first trimester is very emotional. And on top of that was this added, you know, layer, I guess, of emotions that I was going through and dealing with. I said in my first update video that I really don't feel necessary to like go into detail about why I decided not to share my pregnancy on social media, other than the fact that I felt very clearly before I even got pregnant that I was not supposed to. That Holy Spirit was really clear with me that I was not supposed to share it. One, because there was redemption that happened in the, in quotes, secrecy of it, because since my pregnancy and birth and everything was so public with Azariah for glorification of the Lord, there was just some things that also hurt me about that I knew the Lord was going to redeem in keeping this pregnancy just ours, and he did, for sure, like 100-fold. So I don't regret that a single second. There was not a single second did I do that for publicity or wanting attention, because I actually wanted the opposite. I wanted to just keep it mine and just not have a bunch of questions at the time, because the honest, blunt truth is that I was so fragile in my first 2 trimesters, even with my emotions and with just unpacking stuff with the Lord of what I was struggling with from my pregnancy with Azariah, that if somebody would have asked me the wrong question it would have really hurt me. And so I knew the Lord wanted to protect me in that way. And I'm so glad that I listened and I yielded, because again, it was worth it. So fast forward to closer to the 20-week ultrasound, I found myself spending a lot of time at the Lord's feet, just weeping and pouring everything out to him. And he was so kind to just sit and listen to me, tell him all the things, and also sometimes tell him nothing and just weep. And I didn't have to say anything. And so one of the coolest parts of this whole story is that, one, everybody calls Azariah the little lamb. That's just like, his personality is so gentle and lowly and just tender. Everything about him is just that way, and always has been. And again and again and again and again, from the time that I was pregnant until the end of my pregnancy, even now, everybody kept saying Micaiah before his name was even Micaiah, just like, this baby is going to be like a lion. And I had a friend say to me, when I got coffee with her, one of the things that I had just explained to her is, I don't want Micaiah / this baby at the time to feel like, because he doesn't have this story that is grand and unique and shared in the way that it was shared, that his story is less significant or less glorifying to the Lord. And she very quickly gave me great wisdom and said that Azariah is like the little lamb. This baby will be like a lion. And this baby will be bold and fierce on purpose. She said that this baby will be part of Azariah's story and add to it even by being bold, like boldly protecting his story and boldly sharing his story, being fierce in defending not only Azariah's story, but defending like the gospel and defending, just like a defender. And I received that so quickly, because I had felt the same way, that like, no matter what, this baby is going to be like a little lion. And so not only did she say that, but like 5 or 6 other people randomly said that. So the day before our 20-week ultrasound, I'd been asking all my friends to just pray for me up until this day. And I was at church, and she came up to me at church and she said, "Hey sis, I was praying for you and I had this vision and I just wanted to share it with you because I know your 20-week ultrasound is tomorrow." So she said, in the vision, you were in a hospital or like some type of medical facility, and there was 2 double doors, and you pushed the double doors open, and when you did, a swarm of orange butterflies came from behind you. And she said, I didn't really understand what that meant. I just felt like there was so much power when you threw open those doors. And so she said, and I looked up the biblical definition of butterfly. It's a symbol of death and resurrection. She said, so I felt like what the Lord was saying is that I'm going to put to death your pain and your trauma from your first pregnancy, and you're going to experience the resurrection power in this pregnancy, in my redemptive power. And I again claimed that. I said, yes, Jesus. And she said, I felt specifically like I was supposed to pray that tomorrow you see an orange butterfly, just as like confirmation of that happening. And so the morning of the 20-week ultrasound, I had a supernatural peace, but it was a peace that was intertwined with a weeping, and it was just like, I felt like a release. Like there was no anxiety, there was no fear. It was just kind of like, I guess, sadness, but it was also peace. So I don't know how to explain it. Honestly, just the Lord totally did this. On my way, I just kept talking to the Lord and saying, Lord, I know you're going to redeem this, and I can't wait to see it, and I'm just going to pour out what's left that I feel like I need to just get out before I walk into this room. And you want to hear what's crazy? The ultrasound happened in the same building, in the same exact room, with the same exact doctor that it happened with Azariah. When we went in the ultrasound room, I think that maybe there was like a tinge of, not anxiety, but like, okay, I need to, anticipation is the way. Anticipation is the word. And so this ultrasound lasted 15 minutes compared to the hour and a half that it lasted with Azariah. And the ultrasound tech didn't say anything, of course, but when we went into the room afterwards and the doctor came in, she was in for probably 45 seconds and said, "This is a beautiful baby and I don't see anything to be concerned about." And when I tell you that it was like a fierce wind slapped me in the face with joy and peace and gratitude, I mean, I could not hold it together. I was like, hold on. I was like, Lord, you are Redeemer. You are Jehovah Rapha. You are Jehovah Nisi. Like, thank you, Jesus. And so when I went back in the car, Craig had to go to work, and so I was in the car by myself. And the minute I turned my car on, the radio was playing the song Promises, and it was the whole line that says, "And let my heart learn, when you speak a word, it will come to pass." And I said, okay, Lord, I will not doubt you. I will not doubt your redemption. I will not doubt your healing. I know that you're doing this, and you've just done it. And praise you, Lord. Exalt you above every fear that I had, over every lie that the enemy was trying to tell me. You are good, and you are good to me, and you're faithful. We didn't find out the gender then. We had them put it in an envelope, and we were going to look at it together later with Azariah that night. And so when I got back home, it was just me and Azariah as normal. We were playing outside, and he was playing on his water table, and I was sitting in a chair, and I was just closing my eyes and just listening to the song Promises, because I felt like that song was significant to listen to. And I closed my eyes and I was just praising him, and all of a sudden I felt something on my foot, and I looked down and it was an orange butterfly. And I just lost it, and I said, Lord, you're so kind that you would care about even the detail of showing me an orange butterfly to confirm that you did put to death my trauma and my pain, and you did redeem it and heal it and raise me up in that resurrection power. And he did. And I couldn't believe it. And what's crazy is that butterfly did not leave me. For like a good 10 minutes, it was just hopping on my foot and hopping on the ground, hopping on my foot, flying around us. And I was just like, this thing is not leaving. What's going on? What's cool too about like the butterfly is that every single time the enemy would tempt me with believing a lie or going back to old thought patterns, or going back to anything, an orange butterfly would show up somewhere. And I'm not even joking you. Like, one day, Azariah used to love, still does sometimes, love going down to the semis at the highway that's just down the road from us. And one day we were all loaded up in the van going to go watch. And, we drive down there like 20 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. I'm not, like, really slowly because it's just right down the road. And that day had just been specifically really hard mentally with battling a lot of lies. And when Craig got home that day, I just was like weeping all day, and I was crying in the van on the way down to go see the semis, just full emotion, letting it out. And I looked out our window, and there was an orange butterfly flying in sync with our van for a good, I don't even know, like 30 feet maybe. I mean, it was just like really far, and it did not leave my window. It was on my side, and it was flying directly at my window, so I could see it the whole time, and not a coincidence. And it was again just like the Lord reminding me, and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. And so he was so kind to just give me those reminders again and again and again. So we were outside with Azariah later that night, just thanking the Lord and just having some time together as a family. And we were getting ready to look at the envelope to find out the gender together. And we did, and it was a boy. And I was so sure that it was going to be a girl, y'all, just like I was so sure that Azariah was going to be a girl. But I was so sure it was going to be a girl because I was like, Lord, you're going to name, like, her name has to have something to do with a butterfly. It just has to. And then it ended up being a boy, and I was like, okay, interesting. We're going to have to think of another name now. Hey, do you think it's a boy or a girl?
A boy.
A boy?
Yeah.
Let's
Daddy?
take our final guesses. My gut has told me boy this entire time, and I for some reason I want to switch to girl, but I'm gonna say boy.
Okay, sit right here.
Sit back down.
We're gonna look at something
What's
really
mommy's
special.
guess? What's mommy's guess?
Well, I would say girl, but I also thought he was a girl, so I guess I'm gonna say boy. Are you ready?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are?
Yeah.
Ready?
You want to look at it first?
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, let's look away.
You look at it.
Wait. Mommy will hold it. What's it say?
Is it a boy or a girl?
Right, Daddy? 3, 2, 1.
The boy!
Next crazy thing that happened is during my pregnancy, also Micaiah's awake, so I'll have to make this part kind of quick, but during my pregnancy with Azariah, Craig made a job switch from where he was to another place that he was really sure was going to be a place that he could be at for a really long time. We had been praying that he would get away from factory work and just get into a place where he could like enjoy what he's doing, like not only enjoy the job but enjoy the atmosphere of the job. And so it was a place that he really enjoyed being at, but there was just some other factors that were really stinking hard. And so after a chain of events and just some things that were going on, Craig ended up losing his job there. And the crazy thing about this timeline was that I was 24 weeks and 2 days pregnant when Craig lost his job. Interestingly enough, not a coincidence, I was 24 weeks and 2 days pregnant with Azariah when I had fetal surgery. So I knew that this was purposeful from the Lord that he lost his job. And although it was terrifying because at the time I really wasn't pursuing any type of like avenue for income, because I had stopped doing YouTube because I felt the Lord tell me not to do that, and I'd stopped doing Young Living, and I was active on Instagram, but a lot of the things that people wanted me to do for sponsorships I couldn't do because I was pregnant and I was not showing my pregnancy. So there was just a lot of question marks behind this situation. But I watched Craig wrestle with this at the Lord's feet, like with the Lord, because he felt like he was supposed to be at that last job, but also felt like, okay, that this is not what I'm supposed to do, obviously. So what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to go back to I'm not going to go back to factory work or like choose the easy way out. And I want him to eventually come on here and tell you guys this story from his perspective, because there's just details that I can't share because it's not like mine. I was just watching this happen, kind of doing it with him, but like more so watching it. After a couple weeks, basically, Craig felt like the Lord was calling him to ministry. And so Craig is now pursuing FCA, and I can explain what FCA is in another video just because I'm pressed for time, but 24 weeks, 2 days pregnant, had fetal surgery with Azariah, which was a life-changing experience. And then 24 weeks, 2 days pregnant with Micaiah, and another life-changing experience. But like God called Craig into ministry. So crazy things happening in this pregnancy that, we didn't share until after the fact because we weren't supposed to share. And he's support raising right now to be able to start full time. He's doing that part time, working with his friend part time. How the Lord's provision came through when we really needed it. In that time, we were like, we have no idea what we're doing. What are we gonna do for income? How are we gonna do this? And God just absolutely provided. And our community and just the people that are surrounded we're surrounded by, how they came alongside us in prayer and in multiple different ways. I'm so thankful for. The Lord has specifically given us this community for many reasons, but I'm just so thankful. One thing that I struggled with in my pregnancy that I didn't get to share, like, you know, during when I was struggling with it, is acid reflux. I struggled so badly with acid reflux in my pregnancy, especially second and third trimester. I had never experienced that before. I mean, I experienced it with my pregnancy with Azariah, but I just like downed Tums because I was in the hospital and I couldn't do anything about it. And I also, the acid reflux was from the medication that they gave me to make sure contractions didn't happen after my surgery. So this was like natural acid reflux. And the only thing that would get rid of it is drinking straight apple cider vinegar. And you would think that that doesn't make sense. Like, you have acid reflux, so you drink acid, like the most acidic thing. But I'm telling you, it went away immediately, every single time. And it was only at night, right before I went to bed. So I would just like take, I don't even know how much, I just took the bottle and just drank it and like followed it with some orange juice. And it took it away immediately. So tip to anybody who has acid reflux in pregnancy, try that. It was horrible tasting, but it was worth it because the acid reflux was worse. You don't realize how much of a blessing it is to just be at home and just be pregnant and do normal life. Like, that's probably something that a lot of people take for granted or don't think about as such a blessing, but it is. And so getting to experience that this time in the entirety of my pregnancy was amazing. And it was also one of those things where I was like with my pregnancy with Azariah, time felt really slow, and with my pregnancy with Micaiah, it felt incredibly fast. Like, I also, because I had a toddler and I'm chasing him around and stuff, things just felt way faster than with Azariah, because he was the only thing that I was waiting on. But don't regret. I mean, it was such a beautiful experience, and again, I'm grateful that it was just hours, but those are some moments that I just wanted to share with you guys. I think I'm just going to do a separate video for my birth because this video is already really long. Hopefully you enjoy this video, and stay tuned for my birth story video, which will be the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.